welcome back. I'm out in the Bluestack Mountains today. Finally got myself outside this week. As I said in the last video where I was in the woods, I've been dealing with quite a heavy head cold and a chesty cough all week, so it's kind of knocked me for six. I had the week booked off work and the plan was to get loads of cycling and hiking and maybe even a wee bit of camping done. So apart from getting out for a walk around the local forest yesterday, this is the first time I've actually got out on a proper hike out into the hills. Might be a wee bit adventurous doing what I'm doing today, but no, I just had to get out. I just couldn't sit in the house any longer. And I had originally planned to do this yesterday, but when I got up yesterday morning I was dog tired after having been in the woods for a few hours just on the Wednesday. And as well as that, it was quite grey, very low skies, and visibility was quite poor, so I figured it wasn't going to be much of a day anyway, and I was just going to be pushing myself too hard for no great return. And looking at the weather forecast, I knew that today was going to be really nice, and it is really nice. It's lovely and bright and sunny, loads of blue skies, bit of a breeze blowing, which is cool but not cold, so kind of perfect walking conditions, and way better than anything you could expect at this time of the year, which is a nice reprieve after lots of the very wet and very windy weather we've had over the last couple of weeks. So I need to make the most of this today. The walk I'm doing today actually takes in 6 of my local 100 summits, so it takes off quite a lot in one go. The first of these is just there behind me now, and it's called Browns Hill. It's not a huge summit, it's just under 500 meters, but as you can see it's pretty steep from the get-go. And it's about 10 or 11 years, maybe even 12 years since I've been up there. And I remember the last time I was up there, I'd intended to do it as part of a much longer walk, but my fitness was shot to hell that time as well, and I really struggled on that hill, and to the extent where I just about made it to the summit, and I decided to call it a day and just come straight back down and walk back to the car. The next 2 summits after Browns Hill, it's kind of a bit of a rolling elevation. You don't lose much height once you get up to Browns Hill. They are a bit lower. There are 2 summits to the northeast. They're more tops really. I have no idea what they're like. I've never been over as far as there before. And you skirt around the base of Browns Hill, or not the base of Browns Hill, the side of Browns Hill, heading west for Croaghnageer. And Croaghnageer actually has 3 summits, so 2 tops and 1 proper summit, and that is just beside my head there. That's Croaghnageer in the background, and it doesn't really show well on the camera there, but it's a pretty steep summit as well, with quite a steep drop down. And you finish dropping down off that down onto the side of Barneslough, and then you follow along the base of Croaghnageer and Browns Hill along Barneslough, and there's a couple of river crossings as well there, which could be fun, and eventually back out onto this track where I'm standing here now. So I've just done 1.5 kilometres along the forest trail from the car park, and that's pretty steep, and to be honest, it's left me very breathless, which I haven't been doing any talking to camera while I'm walking, which I normally like to do, just because I just didn't have the breath to walk and talk at the same time. So I don't really know how much filming I'm going to get done today, but I'll hopefully try and keep you along with me the whole way, and hopefully get the whole walk done altogether. It's going to be somewhere between 11.5 and 12 kilometres, so challenge enough walk at the best of times, and as I say, with my reduced fitness, I'm a wee bit concerned about it, but listen, I'm going to go and give it my best anyway. The other concern I have is the terrain. I do know the terrain between Browns Hill and Croaghnageer is quite peaty and haggy and damp, if not boggy. And as I said earlier, there's been an awful lot of rain this last 2 weeks, so I'm not sure what that's going to be like and whether that's even going to be passable at this time of the year. But as I say, well, I'll judge that when I get to it and see what the story is. I do have at least 3 small river crossings, but probably more like big streams, so that has me a little bit concerned as well. So I don't know how much water is going to be in those streams after the rain of the last couple of weeks. But I'm going to be sensible about it and see what I can get done. If I'm not going to put myself at risk, and if I think anything's too dodgy, I'm just going to turn back and go back to the car. But at least I've made the effort to get out, so yeah. So hopefully you can come along with me. Hopefully I can show you loads of these very eastern edge of the Bluestack Mountains in Donegal, and hope you enjoy the video. good to get out of the wind anyway. It's as I said earlier, there's quite a stiff breeze blowing, and I was sheltered for most of the walk up Browns Hill until I got up to the first cairn at the first point on the top of the first shoulder, and then I was fully exposed to it then, and it is quite a chilly wind. The other thing that I decided when I got to the top of Browns Hill was I'm going to cut this walk short. Looking across to the two summits to the northeast of Browns Hill, one of them is called Croaghnageer, and it's actually higher than Browns Hill, and you lose a lot of height between here and there, and looks like quite a tough climb up to the top of it. So I've decided discretion is the better part of valor. My legs are very heavy and I am quite breathless still today, and I think that's a tough walk for the best of conditions. I was late getting started today. It's after 2 o'clock now. I'm just a wee bit worried that if I took on too much, I'm going to end up out here in the middle of nowhere and it getting dark and not knowing where I am, and I just think that's just way too dangerous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head northwest here from Barnes Hill, and I'm going to try and take in the three tops of Ardnageer. So I think I mentioned earlier on, Ardnageer has a main summit and then two smaller points, two smaller tops then as well. So that's the aim now. I'm going to try and get lunch here at some stage as well. I made the decision this morning to bring the flask with me instead of the gas stove, and I'm glad I did, because it would be tough trying to get shelter up here. I don't think I have time to stop and boil water and eat. I think I could get quite cold if I did that. So I have the flask with me, have the tea. So I might actually stop just here now, because I am in quite a sheltered spot now. I'm a bit hungry, and it'll give me a chance to recover, because the next bit is across quite a lot of peat hags. You can see it from here as well. I'd say it's going to be quite boggy and it's going to need a bit of concentration to get across, and then it's just straight up then onto the first of the Ardnageer points. So that's the new plan for today now. Well, that was a very quick lunch, just 5 or 10 minutes really, just enough to, oh, it's getting windy again, get a sandwich down me and a cup of tea and a good old wagon wheel, hard to beat in the hill. I'm just going to show you what's ahead of me now here. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. So I don't know if you could see that sort of reddish brown area just over there. Now I think it is on the camera, it's hard to tell from here, but that's a real peat moss boggy kind of area, so I'm gonna have to pick my way very carefully across that. And then just up above that is the first of the Ardnageer points, and then off in the distance there's the second one, and then I think that's actually Ardnageer itself, and then I've got the third one here just behind me. So they're quite close proximity to each other, so hopefully that's going to make things a wee bit easier. I'm getting a wee bit concerned, to be honest, about the time, and it's got a lot darker than it was this morning. The skies have greyed over quite a lot, and I've seen a few showers out there in front of me and out to the west as well, out over Donegal town, but thankfully nothing's hit me here yet anyway. But the wind has turned a lot colder, so I just want to make sure I don't get caught out. No, it hasn't happened to me yet, and I don't intend it to happen to me. So anyway, I'll get across this peat bog up to the first of the Ardnageer points. Onwards and upwards. That turned out to be an awful lot easier than I expected. The large area of reddish brown that I assumed was bog and that was going to be really difficult to cross turned out to be mostly dead grass. Well, not dead grass, but grass that's just turning now at the end of the autumn, coming into the winter. So the actual initial approach coming off Brown's Hill was actually the worst bit, because there was a lot of very tall peat hags, and you couldn't just jump off them because you could see it wet at the bottom. You didn't know what the terrain was like or what the surface was like if you jumped down from it. Last thing it was my weight piling down onto a really soft spot and going up to my waist and not being able to get out. So I'm now across that completely, and there was quite a large new fence there that had to be crossed, which was easy enough, apart from the fact that there's put bloody barbed wire on the top of it, which there's no call for out in the hills like this. It's a sheep fence. Sheep aren't going to bloody jump over it. So anyway, there was a bit of a cross piece I was able to clamber over without doing myself too much harm in the barbed wire. And then it was a drop down to a really nice wee ravine, and a couple of nice streams running off the side of Ardnageer here into it. I'm actually a lot more settled. I'm glad I decided not to go across to Croaghnageer, but that ravine is a really good marker for me. So if I do start to run out of time and run out of light, I have somewhere very easy to negotiate back to, and that river is actually an easy route off the hill. I know you shouldn't normally follow a river off a hill because sometimes it goes over the side of a cliff, but I know what the terrain's like at the bottom, and I'm actually, as part of the original route, I was to cross this river at the bottom there, which seeing how it's running today makes me an awful lot more confident about being able to cross it at the bottom. So I'm on the at the base of Ardnageer here now, so gonna start up to the first of the points now and see how that goes. The ground is a lot grassier and boggier here, so I'm hoping it turns out much the same as Brown's, which was nice and rocky and nice walking, so fingers crossed for that anyway. So that's Croaghnageer northeast top done, and if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying, I've been calling it Ardnageer for some reason ever since I got to the top of Brown's Hill. No idea where I got that from, but it's Croaghnageer. So I've come down off the top of the northeast summit, or northeast top. Jesus, my brain's gone. I've come down from the top of the northeast top. That's even worse. I've come down from the top of the northeast point, and I'm now heading for Ardnageer itself. The terrain here is not too bad. It's as wet as I expected it to be, and there's some wee streams, but the ground's mostly rock with some wee boggy patches I just have to keep an eye out for. Wee bit concerned because I can see quite a deep gully between here and Ardnageer, so we'll see how that goes. I've been concerned about lots of things today that haven't panned out, so the weathers also seem to have agreed with my choice of not going to Croaghnageer and cutting the walk a wee bit shorter today, because the sun's back out again, as you can probably guess. Sunglasses back on again, which is nice. So I'm gonna crack on up Croaghnageer. Don't know where the hell I got Donegal from, but anyway, onwards we go again. So that's the summit of Croaghnageer. I have to say, it's absolutely beautiful up here today. I know visibility is not great. I was trying to take a shot out over Loch Esk and out towards Donegal Bay there, and with the sun setting and there's quite a lot of haze in the air, it's just not possible to get a good shot. But Jesus, it's lovely. It really, really is. You know, I was very jealous about a month ago or 6 weeks ago now when I went to the Mourns and seen what the guys that live locally up there have to walk in, and I think I'm always looking down the country towards Kerry and even the Galtees where I'm going next weekend, and the Wicklow Mountains. But the Bluestacks really are, I've totally underestimated the Bluestacks, how beautiful they are, and they're right here on my doorstep, and I haven't explored them anywhere near enough. But you know what, I've done quite a bit this year, and I'm going to do an awful lot more next year as well, just to see this beautiful mountain range properly. But anyway, I can see, oh, it's got very windy there. Over there behind me, sorry I'm blinded by the sun, is the third top of our Croaghnageer. So visibility or navigation's not going to be a problem up here today anyway, because I can see the summit cairn from here. Quite considerable looking it is too. So that's going to be my last summit of the day, and then it's a steep descent down the other side down to Barnes Loch and then up to the forest track and home. Beautiful. So I'm on the final stretch now, heading down off Croaghnageer. I'm not sure what's the name of the point now. I don't know if it's Eastern Point or Southern Point, but anyway, I'm just hunkered down here in the lee of the hill, just out of the breeze. And the view across onto Croaghnageer and across onto Croaghnageer on the far side of Barnes Gap, and just the side of Barnes Gap looking over to Browns Hill, Loch Mourne in the distance, and I can see the Lorrimore River flowing out of the bottom of Barnes Loch and flowing towards the gap. And I really, really believe that I would struggle to find as beautiful a view as what's just in front of me now. It's absolutely amazing. I know I was saying at the top of our Croaghnageer that I've totally underestimated the Bluestacks, and I really have. They're a beautiful mountain range. I'd written them off for in a lot of ways of being boggy and mucky and hard going, and they are that in a lot of places, don't get me wrong, and part of today's walk was like that as well. They're not the highest of mountains, like I think 596 maybe was my highest point today. but Jesus, it's been such a good walk. And I have to say, when I got to the last summit there on one of the Croaghnageer tops, emotional is the wrong word to use, but I found and felt a huge sense of achievement of being able to do that today. And I guess gratitude as well. There's lots of people in this world that for whatever reason can't get out in the hills, and they really are missing an awful lot. Whether it's mentally they don't think they're up for it, or physically they're just not able for it. But I'm very thankful that despite moaning and groaning all week about having this horrible head cold, that's a temporary thing, and I was able to get over and get out here and just enjoy these hills and be able to experience this amazing view. And I really do, I'm very, very thankful for that. Quite a steep descent now ahead of me. I'm going to have to be very careful coming down off the hills. My legs are very tired now and my feet are very heavy. So the terrain's quite rough, and it is a bit boggy at the bottom. So I have to make my way down to the top of Barnes Loch and then follow the stream back up onto the forest trail that I was on first thing this morning, and then back to the van again. So no, it's been a great day in the hills. Brilliant day. Home stretch now, back onto the forest track that I came up. In fact, I just joined the forest track exactly pretty much where I left it earlier. The descent down from Croaghnageer was pretty full on. It's very, very steep. That's probably the steepest side of Croaghnageer to come down, and I have been up there before on a big lip many years ago, but I came down further along, further west I suppose, aloft the summit, and I came down at the top of Barnes Loch and crossed the river there before heading up Croaghnageer. But this time I wanted to come down on this side of Barnes Loch because I didn't fancy crossing the Barnes River or the Lorrimore River. They're fairly wide rivers. They're more than just streams, and they'll be absolutely full of water at this time of the year. So dropped down off Croaghnageer. From the top up there I could see quite a deep gully that runs between Croaghnageer and Browns Hill that was up first thing, and I could also see where there was a barbed wire fence that I crossed earlier in the day as I was heading across from Browns Hill to the first of the Croaghnageer tops, and that's continued all the way down over the edge of that col and all the way down along the ravine down to the Lorrimore River. So look, it's done now. It looks horrible, but the farmers obviously brought in machinery and gouged the track out of the side of the hill to get machinery and men up to the ravine to put in that new fence. God knows what kind of planning permission they got for that, and it is absolutely horrendously horrible looking, and I could see it from the very top of Croaghnageer. Now what it did do is it gave me a handy way off the hill, much handier than what I was expecting, and meant that crossing the 2 or 3 streams that I did have to cross were an awful lot easier done because that trail was there, or that track was there. I'm hoping in a couple of years time, I don't think that track's going to be used for much. I'd say they were just using it to bring quads in with fencing materials. But it's very obviously been done with a digger in sections as well, and they've scraped it right down to the bedrock and removed a lot of the peat layer and the bog layer and just left it rough as hell. But anyway, I say it's done now. What really pissed me off though was at the very end of that track just as you enter the quarry, there's a no trespassing sign in the gate, and that's not private land. It's what they call commonage around here, and no one has any right to put a no trespassing sign and a CCTV in operation sign on commonage land like that. That's communal access up there. All the local farmers are entitled to graze their sheep up there, and we as citizens of the state are allowed to walk up there as well. So that really pissed me off, but anyway, it's probably not worth doing anything about, because then the next thing you know, there's a lot of antagonism around here towards hill walkers and stuff like that, because it'll be very obvious that it was someone hiking and walking up here that reported it. So it's done now. It can't get any worse than it is. I don't think it can anyway, and hopefully with the passage of a few years, the bog will reclaim some of that again. I'd say, I'm no expert in these things, but I say it was done just this year. So anyway, that got me off the hill, and I'm back on the forest trail. It was a good call not to do the other two summits, Croaghnageer and the other unnamed one earlier today. I don't know where the written software was taking its information from, but there's no way that would have only been 11.5 kilometers. I'd say it would have been probably bare minimum 13, and it could be even somewhere closer to 15, and I would not have had the time or the legs or fitness to do that today. This is going to finish at about 10.5k, which is absolutely plenty for me today. But listen, I got 4 summits done. 2 of them I've done before, 2 of them I haven't done before, and I had an absolutely brilliant, hugely enjoyable walk, and I'm feeling really good. I still feel chesty and I still feel snottery with a cold, but listen, it's good to be alive. And as I said, up on the edge of Croaghnageer, I'm just thankful that I have the ability and the mental fortitude as well, I suppose, to go out and do something like this on my own. Again, I take that for granted. Doing things like this on my own, I just think that's the normal thing to do, but of course not everyone does. So listen, I hope you enjoyed the video again, and thanks for coming along with me, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye bye.